What you do in the first 30 seconds of a cold call will determine your level of success. And in this video, I'm going to provide 4 steps that you can go through that will drastically improve your cold calls. And these steps are extremely easy to implement regardless of your level of sales experience, educational background, or personality style. These are easy to adopt, and you will immediately see an improvement in your results. And the first step is to focus on minimizing how much you sound like a salesperson that's trying to sell something. The prospects that you're cold calling are being contacted all day, every day by other salespeople. And this constant barrage of salespeople can not only become annoying for the prospects that you're reaching out to, but your prospects also have to protect themselves from their time being wasted by salespeople. When a prospect answers your cold call, their guard will automatically be at a medium level. If you do something that makes you sound like the next salesperson trying to sell your product, that will increase their guardedness, and that will make everything that you try to do more difficult. And the next 3 steps will help to decrease how much you sound like a salesperson that's trying to sell something. And step 2 is to confirm availability. And this is to ask the prospect if they're available to talk at the beginning of the cold call. Now, a lot of salespeople actually disagree with doing this based on the belief that if you ask the prospect if they're available, that invites the objection of I'm not available or I'm busy. So a lot of salespeople just power through and don't check in to confirm that the prospect is available. While I do see that logic, I believe it's more beneficial to take that step to confirm that the prospect is available for your call, because when you ask the prospect if they're available, it helps you to identify how busy the prospect is. Because if the prospect is extremely busy and fighting a fire and in the middle of a meeting, that's not going to be a good time to try to execute on your cold call. But more importantly, if you confirm that the prospect is available, what this does is this buys you a window of time to work within to execute your cold call. And when you ask the prospect if they're available, this actually will take a small step forward in helping to build rapport with the prospect, because you will be showing them that you respect them and respect their time. And because a lot of salespeople don't try to confirm that the prospect is available, when you do take this step, that will help to decrease how much you look like a salesperson that's calling, trying to sell something. And one of the ways that I like to try to confirm if the prospect is available is by asking the question, have I caught you in the middle of anything? So instead of asking, are you busy or do you have time to talk? I like to ask the question in this way because this question gets a more accurate read on how busy the prospect is. We know that the prospect is busy. If we're doing B2B cold calling and someone answers the phone, they're at work. So we can just assume that they're busy. But what we're trying to identify is the prospect normal busy or crazy busy? If they're crazy busy, then we don't want to try to keep moving forward and take them away from what they're in the middle of. We would want to reset and regroup and position ourselves for a call on another day. But if the prospect is normal busy, then we can try to get a few minutes of their time and continue talking. This question is also a question that is more familiar and less professional and less salesy. And what I mean by that is, have I caught you in the middle of anything is something that a coworker would say to a colleague peeking their head in the office on Monday morning before talking about the weekend. And with you being a salesperson and wanting to make a great impression, you may think, well, that's not as good to be more familiar and that you should present yourself in the most professional way. The problem with that is that the more professional you present yourself, the more you will look like a salesperson that's trying to sell something. So by confirming availability in this way, in this more familiar, friendly way, you will decrease how much you look like a salesperson and decrease the level of guardedness. This question could also be considered a pattern interrupt. If all of the other salespeople are asking the prospects, are you busy or how are you doing today? When the prospect always hears that same question, they go into autopilot with the same response of, I'm fine, how are you? Or I'm busy, or I'm okay. When you ask a different question that the prospect does not hear all the time, which I would consider this question to be, it is a pattern interrupt and takes the prospect out of autopilot, which helps you to get more attention in that moment from the prospect. And because you're being less professional and more familiar and being respectful of the prospect's time, again, confirming availability in this way creates a little bit of rapport with the prospect. And the next step is to share the purpose of the call. Now, if you were to honestly and directly share the reason why you're calling this prospect and why you want to talk to them, you may share a purpose for the call of being to schedule an appointment or to introduce yourself and your company or to learn about the prospect's needs. All of these will make you sound like a salesperson that's trying to sell something and increase the prospect's guardedness. So instead of sharing any of those, we want to spin the purpose of the call in the best light. And one way to do that is to share a purpose for the call that focuses more on the prospect's interests. And one thing that the prospect cares the most about is what's in it for me. The prospect does not really care what company you work for or what product you sell or how great your product is. All they care about is what's in it for me. And so when you are on a cold call and you talk about what your product does, that does not answer the question of what's in it for me. If you want the prospect to be interested in your product, you want to focus on the improvements that your product can create for the prospect. That is what's in it for them. And the improvements that your product can deliver is the value proposition for your product. So what we can do is we can share our value proposition as the purpose for our call. The improvements that we can deliver to the prospect is the purpose for our call. So in order to do that, we need to create our value proposition. And here is an 8-point checklist that you can use to identify the value that your product delivers. Does what you sell help to make something work better, help to make something easier, decrease the amount of time it takes to do something, increase income or revenue for the prospect, decrease their costs or expenses, decrease the risk of something bad happening, improve their visibility or access to information, improve the product that the customer manufacturers or the product that they sell. Take your product and compare it to these different areas and think about how your product improves any of these areas and then share that as the purpose for your call. And the last step is to do a sales takeaway. A sales takeaway is basically taking away what you are trying to sell. Most salespeople are always trying to get the prospect to move forward in some way or another. The sales takeaway is basically the opposite of trying to get the prospect to move forward by expressing doubt in the fit or justification for the prospect buying what you sell. And since this is the opposite of what most salespeople do, this will actually help to decrease how much you sound like a salesperson that's trying to sell something. Now, we are talking about the first 30 seconds of a cold call, so we don't really want to do a real hard takeaway when we're just talking to a prospect, most likely for the first time. So what I recommend you do at the beginning of a cold call is what I refer to as a soft sales takeaway. So it's just an expression of a little bit of doubt at the beginning of a cold call. For example, you could say something like, I don't know if you need what we provide. I don't know if you're a good fit. I don't know if we can help you in the same way. I don't know if you're interested in those improvements. I don't know if you're concerned about those areas. I don't know if you're the right person. I don't know if it makes sense for us to talk. Now, to share one of these at the beginning of a cold call can be real powerful because it can help to create a push-pull effect. For example, your value proposition, when you share that as the purpose for your call, is the push. Great. The reason for my call is we help businesses to teach their reps what to say and ask. And then I do a sales takeaway, which is the pull. But, I don't know if we can help you in that same way or not. This push-pull effect does a couple things. It can help to increase curiosity because instead of pushing the prospect to move forward and try to make them want what you sell, you're doing a soft little takeaway, which when you're taking it away can increase the curiosity, and it can also help to decrease the guardedness by decreasing how much you sound like a salesperson because salespeople will typically not do the takeaway. Now, those 4 steps that I just shared with you are actually the beginning of a complete cold call process. And if you're not familiar with our complete cold call process, there's another video that will take you through that process from the beginning to the end, and I'll include a link to that full video in the description below. But just to actually show you what going through those 4 steps with an actual sales script. Hello, Tom. This is Michael Halper calling from Sales Scripter. Have I caught you in the middle of anything? Great. Well, the reason for my call is we help businesses to teach their reps what to say and ask and decrease new hire ramp up time. But I don't know if those are areas that you want to improve, and that's why I'm reaching out with a question or two. If I could ask you real quick, and then I ask one of my questions, which gets into the remainder of the cold call process, which you can learn about in that other video. Now, one additional thing that I recommend you do on top of going through those 4 steps is to practice the first 30 seconds of a cold call. And the great news is that we provide a tool that you can use to practice the beginning of a cold call, and that is a tool called Sales Simulator, which is an AI-based prospect that you can actually practice with.
Hello, this is Mary.
Hi, Mary. This is Michael Helper from Sales Scripter. Have I caught you in the middle of anything?
I have a couple of minutes.
Great. Well, the reason for my call is we help businesses to teach their sales reps what to say and ask. I don't know if we can help you in that same way, and that's why I was calling with a question or two.
Oh, okay.
And so while that is not always perfect, this should be a tool that will definitely help you to be more prepared and help you to practice your sales pitch. And the great news is that you can try our Sales Simulator free for 7 days with our free trial. That's pretty much it. If you want more information, the best place to go is salescripter.com. Thanks for being here. Hope this was helpful, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.